You're listening to Short Inspirations from Ralph. Easter, the turning point of history, Part 2. We talked in the last episode about how everything changes with the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. You see, Christianity is nothing if Jesus didn't rise again, as we said. All it would be is some sort of a religion that would fade out, as it would be based on some guy who said some good things, seemed to be a healer, and died and was buried like every other founder of religions and cults. But Christianity didn't fade out. It grew and grew and grew, often in the face of regimes that tried to snuff it out or predicted that it would no longer exist in the future. This is because Jesus Christ, the resurrected Christ, changed the heart of men, and no religion, no other religion could do that. You see, he forgave their sin and washed them clean on the inside and justified them, made them right before God. C.S. Lewis stated that Jesus was either a liar or a lunatic or the Lord. And this came from an earlier claim by John Duncan that Christ either deceived mankind by conscious fraud, or he himself was deluded in self-defeat, or he was divine. It has to be one of these things. It's a trilemma, if you like. And the issue is that the evidence is overwhelming that would be admissible in any court in any time in history, is that Jesus died and he rose again. And we find that this same Jesus, who made incredible claims about himself, began to appear to people after he was killed and buried. To Mary Magdalene in the garden, and to all of the disciples, and to a man who doubted, a man by the name of Thomas. Jesus came and appeared to him, and he said, "My Lord and my God." And then within 2 decades of Jesus' death, the Apostle Paul wrote to a church at Corinth and said, when Jesus was raised from the dead, he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers and sisters, most of whom are still living at that point that Paul wrote that. In other words, this really did happen. You can go and ask these people. Also, something happened to galvanize a little group of people 2,000 years ago who weren't transformed by the idea that Christ had risen metaphorically. They never went to the ends of the earth and gave up their lives based on just a metaphor. They did all this because they believed Christ is risen and that he has risen indeed. It really did happen. And this little word indeed means certainly. It means definitely, undeniably, without doubt. That's why we say he's risen indeed. Some people believe that the resurrection was not a miracle, just sort of didn't happen. At the risk of sounding morbid, you and I are close to going to the grave. But the sadness that I find that is pervasive in our society is that the grave is all there is. We live by this thing called chance, and we're no more than really an animal. And after we die, there's no resurrection for anyone. But when you have a personal relationship with the resurrected Jesus Christ, death has no meaning or sting. There is no fear of death. You see, this final frontier called death has been conquered. Yeehaw! That's amazing. It's interesting that there were 2 people on a road traveling to Emmaus after the resurrection. They didn't know anything about the resurrected Christ and thought he'd died, and he appeared to them and talked to them for ages. And afterwards, when they realized who it was, they said, "Didn't our hearts burn within us while he talked with us?" And they ran for miles back to the disciples and said, "It's true, it's true. The Lord is risen." And as we said, the disciples became martyrs for Jesus Christ. They turned the world upside down because they actually believed that Jesus, their teacher, their master, who they saw dying on the cross, whose body they put in the tomb, said he actually was who he said he was, God himself. Amazing. God bless you.